Hello there, and welcome to another episode of Cutting Through the Bullshit. I am your host, Dr. Stephanie Snyder, and I am a high-performance mentor. Through my unique blend of strategy, mindset, and intuition, I help men and women to cut through the BS in order to create a life and business they desire. So today's topic is brought to you by yesterday afternoon. I took my oldest daughter to go get her hair cut. And the place that we get our hair done is very quiet on Mondays. Usually my stylist is the only one there, and so we kind of have a run of the salon by ourselves. And so yesterday afternoon was no different, and we went there and my two younger girls were in tow, and they had one of those wheelie chairs like they have at the doctor's office that you just sit on the top of it, right? It's just a circle, but it's got wheels on it so you can roll it all around. Well, my children immediately wanted to turn that into a toy. And as most moms do, right? We're like, hey, don't go so fast. Why are you spinning like a crazy person, right? Like, easy, slow down. I don't want you to get hurt. And I did all of those things. And then I made eye contact with my hairstylist, and she didn't say anything. There was no judgment whatsoever, but it caused me to pause and reflect on the energy that I was showing up in. And it wasn't a bad energy. It wasn't like, a negative energy. I was actually in a good mood yesterday. I was a little bit tired, but I was in a good mood. But it dawned on me that I was showing up to my kids in a space of fear. Don't do that. Be afraid, right? Don't be afraid of getting hurt. Because I had mentioned to my daughter as she rolled across the room one more time, I said, be easy doing that. You're going to lose your two front teeth. You're going to smack your head on the floor, lose your teeth. Those are the only ones you've got. They're your adult teeth now. And it was as that came out of my mouth, again, I realized that I was infusing it with this fear, right? Being afraid of doing something, being afraid of getting hurt, being afraid of doing this. And as I sat and kind of just thought about it, I wasn't entirely sure how to say that differently in a way that would make her cautious but not afraid. Because I don't want my kids to be overly fearful, right? Like, yes, fear will help and keep us safe, right? I understand that part of it, but I don't want them to be afraid of something because they're afraid of getting hurt, right? Like, I was trying to figure out how else to word that, and I really couldn't come up with anything that could have easily been done. But it reminded me of this conversation I had had with, I was getting acupuncture done, and one of the women there had said, when our parents tell us to be careful, they're actually telling us to be full of care, right? And so for me, I always thought careful was like, don't do it, it's not allowed, be afraid of it, but it's actually to be full of care. But I never thought that would land right with my children. So even when my son leaves to go to school, I tell him drive safely, instead of this careful, like tiptoeing around kind of thing, which leads me to this idea that I've been very aware of words and their usages recently. I don't know why, but for some reason, I got stuck on the difference when we say why versus while, right? And maybe this is an accent thing or whatever, but I caught myself very early on in the year last year, instead of saying, hey, can you do this while you're doing that? I would say, hey, can you do this while that? Why that, right? I would use the word why instead of while. And I don't know what it was, but it caught me off guard. And I decided that I really wanted to be very intentional about using the word while instead of why. And so I started to shift that, which has then caused me to be even more aware of the words that I'm actually using. And it all just, of course, we can go down this rabbit hole and you can get totally out of whack, afraid of using the wrong words, yada, 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 right? Like, you could go there. I, however, like to live in kind of this balance where I'm not afraid of using words, but I'm also open to using different words and better words that are more appropriate for whatever the situation is. And so it was just interesting that I was choosing to essentially infuse the words with fear yesterday when I was speaking to my kids in regards to rolling around on this chair in the salon, right? Now, were they going to really hurt themselves? No, probably not. They certainly weren't going, 40 miles an hour in a shopping cart down a hill kind of a thing. But it was enough to cause worry. And which brings me to another point. We're going down a bunch of rabbit trails today. I'm not entirely sure that this plane's going to land, but, brings me to another point here where my daughter said this, and it brought it to my attention, my youngest. She made a comment about something, and she said, "Mommy, we don't have to worry about that. That's tomorrow." And I realized that she knew what worried meant, and she used it in the right context, but I didn't want her to have to worry, because somebody had this conversation with me about worry, or it was in a book that I read, and it was in regards to when you worry about something, it's like painting it with tar. And instead, I changed the word to praying about it. I'm praying about it as opposed to worrying about it, because whatever I give my energy to, I know that thing will start to grow and magnify, whatever it is. And so I want to make sure that I'm being intentional about the energy that I'm giving to these things, which is why it was so interesting to me that it was brought to my attention, the energy that I was giving to my children yesterday, trying to keep them safe. There's definitely a better way that I can do it, and I haven't quite figured out the wording of it. Because I know that sometimes I still need to remind my children to be cautious, but I want them to be cautious in a good way, I guess. I don't even know. I just thought it was an interesting thing to talk about. So I would love to know if you experience this, if you have any conversations with your children around this, or what that looks like. That would be a really fun topic to get into. But before I head off on another rabbit trail, I'm just going to sign off here. This is going to be a short, quick little riff, I guess, on the use of words and the energy that's infused in them. So I hope that you have a beautiful rest of your day. And as always, be you, because the world needs more of you.